The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and this is the Journey Radio Show. We have a very special show for you tonight, and we're the She-Squatchers. I've got my fellow teammate, Tammy Trickle. Hey, Tammy.
Hello, hello.
Hi. And we did have a guest lined up for you tonight. We had Joedy Cook to come talk to us about Dogman. He's having trouble getting on because there's a storm where he is. I guess it's interrupting his connection. So I'm hoping that he um will come will still try to come on. Um anyway, in the meantime, you've got Tammy and I.
Hey.
Hey, girl, hey. Last week I was gone, so we just took the week off. I had traveled down to Texas to be with Jenna. She's been down there for like a month and a half. I know, right?
Without me.
Jeez. Anyways, we did go on an expedition to a place called the Valley of the Kings, and it's nicknamed that by a local Bigfoot researcher. So a lot of us will nickname our locations. I'm like not really creative. Here's me, Minnesota 1, Minnesota 2, Minnesota 3. Other people are like, this is Area 51. This is the Valley of the Kings. And and here's me, Minnesota 1, Minnesota 2. I need to get more creative, don't I, Tammy?
Well, I mean, my areas, I'm like, okay, this was the sighting by this person, sighting by that person. So I don't have any names for my areas either. So
Right?
I
Right?
guess we should probably work on that.
Yes. Um, let's see. He says he's in.
He is?
Well,
Oh.
that's what he says, but he's not. So let me try to call him
Okay.
again. Um,
Again.
I will try again. So we'll see what happens. Hopefully he will, because last time he was on, he was so fascinating, wasn't he?
He was. And everybody was like, oh, you have to have him back. You know, we have so many more questions. And now everybody's waiting for you, Jody. Where are you?
I think he's here.
I'm in. I don't see anything.
I'm
Camera.
glad. I'm glad
There
you're
we go.
here.
There we go.
Yay. I'm glad you made it.
I'm telling you, we got a really bad windstorm here, and everything is just running slow. Um,
Gotcha.
okay, my camera's not on for some reason.
Well,
Let's
if
see.
it's running slow, that might not be a bad idea.
Let's see.
But we can hear you just fine.
Well,
So,
I'm trying to. Okay, here we go. There we go.
okay.
All right.
So I was just telling everybody that I just got back from Texas and I was down there doing an expedition with Jenna. And everybody was like, be careful of the wild hogs. And sure enough, they came. The wild hogs came. And I guess they're in the dark. I guess they're known for trying to sneak up on people, but they're not super quiet.
No,
So,
when I went to not this past October, but the October before, I filmed a Dogman show for Mysteries Decoded. And I was out at the field before the film crew got there, and I got chased by one of the pigs.
you
He was
did.
yeah. I got in my car. He ran around my car for about 30 minutes before he ended up taking off. So yeah.
How big was it?
Uh, maybe 80 pounds. He wasn't very big. You know, a lot of hair.
They have those tusks, though. That's the thing that scare me.
Yeah. They're dangerous.
Well,
Yeah, there was.
it was pitch black out there, and we're looking through a night vision camera watching this pond where all the wildlife comes to drink. And of course, we're only using that, and so we're just sitting there in the dark. And all of a sudden, I hear some movement behind me, and a little bit of sounds of hogs,
Mhm.
vocalizations, just a little bit. And I'm like, the hogs are coming. They're
Yeah,
coming.
in Texas, you're allowed to shoot them. You know, they want you to go ahead and just kill them because they destroy so much property and crops and things down there. So yeah.
Yeah, the person whose hotspot it was, he had a pistol on for the purpose of the hogs.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, they're dangerous. Yeah.
yeah. So, but he has a dog that chases him away. So, um, as soon as we heard the hogs, he sent the dog toward the hogs and
Hmm.
to get him away. So they didn't actually get very close to us. I did catch one on the night vision drinking on the other side of the pond, though. So that was exciting. But
That's
it was my
good.
first time dealing with wild hogs like that close.
Was that the Texas conference?
We were
Bigfoot
not at a
conference?
conference. We were just down
Oh,
there. Jenna's sister lives in Texas, so Jenna's been down there for a month and a half, and I went down for 10 days for a vacation. It was supposed to be a vacation, but we ended up looking for Bigfoot anyway.
yeah.
Of course we did. Of course we
Oh,
did.
of course. Of course.
Yeah, yeah. But last time you were on the show, everybody, this is Joedy Cook, if I didn't say that before. Um, you were on the show a while ago talking to us about Dogman, and everybody was loving it. And we know you had so much more to share, and we just want to learn more about this because this is something that we haven't really delved into. And
Mhm.
I remember last time you were saying that it's possible that they could be aliens.
There's a possibility. The thing about what I was trying to say is that we got a lot of reports from veterans from the United States, Canada. Um, I think one was from one of these other NATO countries that seen these dogman type creatures in Afghanistan, but when they described them, they described it as a wolf, like with a wolf's head, but they were wearing like some type of like a body armor or protective style suit. So that was kind of interesting. But the Canadian one, the Canadian soldier, his was a little bit different. He was, they were in Kandahar, and they were in one of these small little villages, and they were in a ravine in a defensive position, and they heard these children like scream, and there was this wall, probably about 40 yards away from them, and it kind of went in this way and went down like this. So the kids were coming up screaming and crying. There was a group of them, and then they heard like a pack of dogs coming behind them. So they thinking, well, these dogs were after the kids to eat the kids. So they started to open up on the dogs to get them away from the kids, but the dogs end up passing the children. And so they think, well, maybe they're insurgents. So they went ahead and popped smoke over by where the wall was. And they said this large Anubis looking entity comes walking out of the snow of the smoke. And they said he was dark. He was wearing, now this is the soldier's description. He said he was wearing like a pharaoh's style skirt, you know, on. Yeah. He said, yeah, I mean, he said it looked identical to Anubis. He said it was about 12, maybe 15 feet tall. And it came out and it was looking at them, and they started to open up on it, and didn't phase it at all. And it just kind of like went back around the wall. And that was the end of it they saw. He said it was the weirdest thing they ever seen, but he said it would just look like Anubis.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
How close to the other descriptions that people have of Dogman come close to Anubis?
Most of them, you know, it's more of a wolf shape. It's like the ones that the other guys that saw him in Afghanistan were very, very wolf in appearance. The body armor, like, protective suit they were wearing, it was no helmet, there was no gloves, there were no boots or anything. It was just, a basic outfit. But he said, just imagine, a wolf, a human with a wolf's head. And that's how they described it. Now, there was another case where this woman was visited. She was abducted by, grays, but she reported that one time there was a Anubis looking entity that was on the craft talking to her. And I actually have the drawing of what she drew. And he was wearing kind of like a skirt, but he was wearing, he had like a strap going this way and a strap going this way. And it looks like Anubis in the drawing, but it was on a spacecraft, communicating with her, telling her, we're not going to hurt you. Everything's going to be fine. So those are about the only two cases I can honestly think of where these things actually look so much like Anubis.
Wow, wow. That's very fascinating. What do you think of, what are your thoughts on that? Do you have an opinion?
Well, the thing of it is, when you're dealing with something like Dogman or Bigfoot or even ufology or the paranormal, it's all connected. It's all connected. Some way, somehow, it all intertwines with each other. But when you're dealing with something that is seen as a flesh and blood creature, but yet it has supernatural, entities to it, and it possibly could be extraterrestrial. So are they three different entities that we're dealing with? A flesh and blood, supernatural, and an extraterrestrial? That's what I think. I don't think it's just one particular species that's all three. I believe that, there is some type of canine species of an alien. I mean, there's reptilians that, there's little grays, there are Nordics that are like humans. So why couldn't they be something like a, dog or a wolf type creature that's alien?
I think I've heard that there are. I think I've heard that before.
Yeah. I talked to several people in the military about this. One guy particularly told me, he was a high-ranking Air Force officer, and he was telling me that he was part of the space fleet. Okay, but he said the space fleet's been around, since the 1980s. Okay, and his job was to work with the aliens. And he said there was one particular species of alien that the United States dealt with. They didn't trust them, but they dealt with them. And what this particular species does is they have clones. And they would send these clones to different planets to create havoc. And they would come in and save the planet from these clones. And that way, they become friends with the people of the planet. They end up going into their politics, their communities, and into their government, and then that's how they take over without firing a shot.
I know people like that.
We all know people like that. So, but he was telling me that this particular species of clones that he saw on the ship, where he said they're like werewolves, but they're wearing like body armor, a type of outfit. But he said they were all clones, which I found very interesting. So, are we seeing some of these clones on Earth? Now, 20 years in the military, I can tell you, you can't trust the government. Okay. I can see the United States government talking with an alien species and saying to give us weapon technology, science technology, medical technology. You can go and abduct who you want, but just don't go overboard with it in return. I can see our government doing that, So are they working with these species where they're allowing these clones or other species to, you know, go come on our planet and to observe what's going on or what we're doing, especially in the battlefield. Are they learning our techniques on the battlefield? That's a possibility, because you see, even through in the Vietnam War, there was a lot of alien activity going on during that war, and the government was calling them fallen angels. So Lynn Springfield wrote a really good book called Situation Red that basically talks about, alien involvement in, like our wars and so forth. So basically they're just monitoring us and watching our tactics and learning off of us. And this is what these alien species of the Dogman could be doing, is just studying our tactics, in war and learning that way. But another interesting story, there was a woman and her husband was, traveling out west and they was next to a military base, and they end up getting lost and end up turning up a road to turn around, trying to find, where they're at. And they came upon a group of U.S. soldiers, and these U.S. soldiers were training like these werewolf type entities that were wearing American uniforms. And when they saw them, the U.S. soldiers told them to go after them, to go get them. And they were able to get away. But that's what they described. Were like werewolves wearing U.S. uniforms, training with American soldiers. Yeah, interesting.
Wow, I wonder. Wow.
Yeah.
Right?
What do you think about that?
I believe it. I believe the story, because you can normally tell when you're talking with someone if someone's trying to BS you or if someone is lying. But this was an older couple. They had nothing to gain from it. They were very honest, I believe, on what they were saying. They went into great detail about the whole situation. There, like I said, there's more to the story. And for to come up with something like that, you would have to put a lot of time and effort into studying to make sure that story is correct. And I just don't think, anybody would do that, because they're not, they really didn't want to come forward. I got their information, from another individual, and it took a long time just to get them to talk, but I was able to, talk with them and, get everything from them, about the story and the detail of the area and things like that. And, what military base was close by, so it was interesting. Definitely interesting.
That is very interesting. You
But
have
but
so much to share about things like that it's just it's blowing my mind.
we get so much stuff, and we have to basically like pick and choose what we want to put on our website, what we want to talk about, what we want to keep to ourselves. There's a lot of good information that we have that we basically keep within the organization, photographs, videos, things like that, that we're just not going to put out until we find the opportunity to do it, or we get the okay. So we have a lot of good stuff. There's a lot of really good stuff I wish I could talk about. It's just I can't, because we're holding it for extremely large project that's going to be happening with the organization soon. So we're saving all of the really good stuff for that. So,
Gotcha. All right. So is this like a documentary or a show?
could be.
Ah, I know how that goes. Sworn to secrecy stuff.
Well, when you're under contract, you you gotta be very on what you say. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be good. Um, it took a lot of hard work and a lot of convincing. A lot of very big people. We had to sit there and provide stuff to them that basically made them drop the draw, and say, okay. I mean, people that weren't believers at all into believers, so it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So
Do we have a time frame here of when we can expect more information about that, or?
probably we'll be able to put some information out probably later in the year. Probably later in the year.
Okay.
So, but I can tell you another really good project that I can talk about, which is going to be really, really good. Is that there'll be a group of military veterans, and what we're going to be doing is going to different battlefields around the world, doing paranormal investigation on battlefields. And I'm one of the soldiers that's going to be there. That's for that. So that's going to be a really good. I can tell you that much, but I can't give you any more information. But it's going to be a really, really good project. So actually, there's two projects I'm going to be doing, so back to back. So it's going to be fun.
I hear ya. I hear ya.
Yeah.
I kind of know that. I was filmed for something in October that I think is coming out next month. I think. So
This
I'm
is not this is the thing with we're talking a series. We're not talking just one show. We're talking about a whole series. We about 3 years ago, we were signed with A&E, and we were going to do a Dogman series on A&E. We filmed like 4 episodes. Okay. And when it went back to the CEOs and stuff to look at it before it got released, we had so much really good stuff. I mean, audio, video, thermal imaging, everything. It literally terrified the people at A&E. It terrified them so much. They said, we can't put this stuff on the air. He said, somebody will either have a heart attack or, um, people cannot handle what's there. And it was like that. So they basically had to pay out the contracts, because they were like, we can't do this. I mean, people just can't comprehend what the information that's going to be provided. I mean, we had some really good stuff, the series would have came out, the series would have been booming. Okay. People would have loved it, and the thing of it is when A&E came to us, they said, how do you want this show to be? Okay. And I said, one, people don't want to be entertained. They want to be scared. Okay. I said, when you do a show dealing on the Dogman subject, this is what you want. You want a big guy who's sitting there watching the show. He's really into it. He's kind of a little scared a little bit because of the subject matter. His wife tells him to take out the trash. He grabs the trash. He opens the back door, looks out, looks left, looks right, runs out, throws the garbage in the can, and runs back in. That's the type of show you want. You want someone to be scared, knowing that there's things that go bump in the, night that actually bites, and that was the thing. And A&E came back and said, you're right. This is what it was. It would have done that. But there again, people cannot handle this. And then we found out about 4 months after they canceled out on it, that one of the CEOs had a really good friend that worked for the U.S. Forestry Service that said, hey, what do you think about this stuff? And basically told him, don't put it on the air. And that was basically why the show was canceled. We didn't know that part. We felt that, all we knew is that they were telling us that people cannot handle it, which they probably couldn't. But the fact of it is, the Department of Agriculture, which is, the U.S. Forestry Service, basically told them, you're my friend. I'm telling you, don't put this on the air. There's more to this subject, and you don't want to get yourself involved in it. And they didn't, but they didn't tell us that. We found out, like I said, about 4 months later, when someone who was part of that team told our agent, said, look, this is what actually happened. I'm telling you, keep it under confidence. So, and there is a lot about that subject that is that catches the eye of people. We had our website provider contact us and tell us that, are you guys doing something wrong that we should know about? And I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, you have 3-letter agencies monitoring your website constantly, 2-3 times a day. And it's like, no, we're not doing anything. There's nothing on there, So they said, yeah, I mean, gave me a list of all these 3-letter agencies, governments, from around the world was monitoring our website. For all we knew, it could be some employee taking a break and just searching the internet. You know what I'm saying? But we've had a lot of strange stuff happen. For instance, I'm one of these people that I'm very trying to think the right word. I like to keep things in order. Okay. I like to make sure that everything runs the way it's supposed to be. So when it comes to my vehicles, I keep everything. Okay. All documents, everything. So my wife and I were out one day, and I get pulled over, and state trooper says, your tags have been expired for 18 months. I'm like, there's no way my tags have been expired for 18 months. I'm livid on making sure I get my tags. So I got a $130 ticket. So I checked my paperwork. I got my tags 6 months ago. I've got the canceled check proving it from the DMV. Okay. 3 days later, they pull my wife over for the same exact thing, $130 ticket. So I said, this is nuts. So I took the tickets, the paperwork, went through the DMV. All right. DMV says, you're not even in the system. I said, here's your paperwork. I come to you. The girl goes, I remember you, but your car registrations are no longer in the system. And her exact words was, who did you piss off? And that's exactly what she said. So both registrations for my vehicle were gone.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So I did a lecture. This was right before COVID broke out, and my wife was there with me. My twin brother was there with me. Had a whole bunch of people that were there at this lecture that will verify this. The NSA showed up, was at the lecture, and they let me know they were NSA, and they sat in the back, and they were just taking notes the whole time. I was giving the lecture. They came up to me and said, your lecture, really good, very good information, and I said, what are you going to do with it? And he goes, oh, we have it. We have everything on your website. We collect information. That's what the NSA does. We have everything. So everything that's on your website, we've got. Everything that's on your computer, we got. Your pictures, everything. I mean, they were very open about this. Okay, very nice guys. Okay, very nice guys. But he sat there and said, "Don't be surprised if we come to you or some other agency comes to you to ask you for advice on Dogman." Okay. Now, this happened.
I need to pause you right there, and we're gonna go to our commercial break, but we'll be right back for the rest of that story because I want to hear more. Stay tuned, everybody, with Joedy Cook.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're clear. We're at commercial now, but we're still recording for YouTube. So we have 2 minutes. Yay, you're doing good. I want to know more about that.
Oh, it gets even better. Yeah, it gets even better.
Very cool.
Yeah.
We can't see you if there's anything you can do during the commercial break to make that change.
What do you mean?
We can't see you.
Your camera's not on.
Well, my camera's on.
We can't see you.
Let me turn it off.
Yeah, turn it off, turn it back on. See if that helps.
Oh, I think you've signed in with a different account, maybe.
Can you see me now?
No.
I mean, I can see me. I can see, Tammy, and I can see you.
Can't see it.
Were you able to see me all the way through?
No.
Let's see. That is crazy. I don't know why. I mean, my camera's on. It shows that it's working.
It's a ghost camera.
Yeah.
We should be back soon here. I'm watching for the go.
Yeah. Yeah. The settings shows that the camera's on. Well, you got a picture you can throw up there.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. Hey, it's the Journey Radio Show, and we're the She-Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at She-Squatchers.com. Right at the top of the page, you can find a link to our events page, and you can see where we're going to be coming up. Also, we are on YouTube. Won't you please come subscribe to our channel? We are still in a subscribers race, so we need all the subscribers we can get. So please subscribe to our channel at She-Squatchers Official on YouTube. And Tammy would not be the same if I didn't tell you that we are also on Facebook and Instagram under She-Squatchers Official. So please come follow our pages there for all that's going on in the moment. So we're back to our show with Joedy Cook, who's here to talk to us about Dogman. And you kind of left us on a cliffhanger, Joedy. Please tell us more.
Well, it was late last year. I get a call from a gentleman, says he's with the NSA, said, I would like to meet and talk with you. I've got something I want to share with you and go over. I'm like, yeah, okay. NSA, sure. It's crank call. So, I said, okay, fine. I'll meet you at this public location, tomorrow at this particular time. So, we go there. It was this restaurant, and I sitting there, and I have where I'm at the window. Okay, so I can look out. This big black SUV shows up. 3 guys get out. Obviously you know, they were government people. You can look at it. The 2 guys stayed outside. The 1 guy came right over to me, knew exactly who I was. Really young guy, probably 28, 29 years old. Hair slicked back, really nice suit. Really groomed really well. And we're sitting there and we're talking, just casual talk, just about, how things going, blah, blah, blah type things. So he pulls out this folder, and he has some pictures in it. So he shows me this picture, and it's a skeleton, supposedly of a dog man. Okay. And, just a whole different views of the picture. Very interesting. And what was kind of odd about this, okay, the picture was, I've always had a theory on what Dogman skeleton would look like. I've talked to several people who have shot one at point blank range, and it didn't affect them. When people have Dogman encounters, when the Dogman's on all fours and it stands up, they hear a popping sound, like it has a separate set of joints. Okay. And what was so odd about the picture of the skeleton is that the skeleton Dogman had a separate set of joints. So where that popping sound comes from, when it's on all fours and where it would pop into a different joint to stand up. Okay. So I always, when I talk to people who shot one where they shot it point blank in the chest, didn't do anything, I always felt that the sternum was very thick and very wide going across the chest as like a shield. Okay. Very thick piece of bone. And the skeleton had a very thick piece of bone going across the chest. You just saw the rib part, just on the side, very thick piece of bone. So everything I've always thought about a Dogman skeleton was in that picture. Okay.
I would love to see that picture. Do you have a copy of it?
No, that was their stuff. They showed me, they asked me for my opinion on it. And then they showed me another picture of a dead Dogman. Okay. And the different angles, they didn't kill it. This thing was just got hit by a car or something like that, they said. And it was recovered. The genitals were very human looking on the dog. His front paws were not so much like human hands, but they were very close to a human hand. Is the best way to describe it. The leg was very, very thin, very long. The chest was very massive on the animal. The head, it did have kind of a smooth, cap like a regular dog, but it had the small satchel crest, that dogs have on there because, that needs that muscle for chewing. Now the teeth were kind of odd. It had 2 sets of canines on top and 2 sets of canines on the bottom, which was kind of odd. It had the larger set on top and larger set on the bottom, and there was a smaller set behind each tooth on top and the bottom. And the ears were very pointy. I mean, it looked real. I mean, it looked 100% real. Like, you know, you see like pictures of a dead dog or a deer or something like that. It was very realistic, you know. But you know, it was just asking my opinion, what I thought, and I talked to him. I told him, especially with the skeleton, I said I always felt that's what these things, you know, this is what the skeleton was like. You know, was this real? I can't tell you. I mean, it looked real, but I cannot tell you that it was real. Okay. Now, part of the issue I had with this whole setup was that this guy had a really nice, expensive gold watch on, but he also, on his pinky finger, he had a Mason's ring. Okay. Now, the FBI, you're not allowed to wear any jewelry whatsoever. You can wear your wedding band. That's it. You cannot wear, if you belong to the Masonic group, you cannot wear any of that jewelry. You know, your watch has to be, you know, a downgrade. You can't be up there with big gold Rolexes and stuff, you know. I mean, this guy was just too clean. You know, I mean, he was too young to be what he's doing. You know, there were just so many red flags about this guy. Okay. But, you know, it could have been the NSA, or could have been a, you know, a dark project group or something like that. You know, if it was somebody pulling my chain, they put a lot of time, effort, and money in doing it. Okay. So I don't know. I mean, you know, I never talked about that. And like I said, that just, you know, that happened, you know, 6 months ago. You know, I think I told Josh Turner about it. But because it's just, the whole situation was just so odd, you know. It was just odd because, like I said, the Mason's ring on the pinky. You know, I'm a Mason. You know, so I know for a fact that, you know, he couldn't be wearing a ring, being, you know, working for a 3-letter government agency. You know, I know that much. But it was just an odd situation. You know, asked my opinion on stuff. I told him. He was taking some notes. You know, talked a little bit, shook my hand, and had a good day. You know, that was it. You
Maybe
know,
he was wearing the ring to make you feel more comfortable speaking with him.
well, how would he? I mean, unless they know.
They know everything about you.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. That, I mean, kids, you know, they know I'm a Mason, so maybe he did it, and that was one of the things I felt. Well, you know, maybe that's why he did it. You know, that's a possibility. I mean, I was expecting some guy like, you know, Tommy Lee Jones from Men in Black or something like that. You know, somebody that's seasoned out there. You know,
But he was more like Will Smith in Men in Black.
yeah, you know, he was really young, good looking, you know, guy that, I mean, he looked like he was a, you know, Ivy School guy, you know. I mean, his hair was just slick back, beautiful hair, you know. I mean, you know, the guy was just squared away, you know. But it's just, there were just so much different things that kind of like threw me off, you know, about that. You know.
Well, I've seen all types in the organizations.
Mm-hmm. But there again, you know, life is stranger than fiction. So, you know, but here's my whole thing. Okay. I can't see how Dogman or Bigfoot could be a national security threat. Okay. UFOs. Yeah. You know, But why does government have interest in this stuff? Okay. Now, take for granted the movie Exorcist. Okay. The Exorcist is it was based on a boy, not a girl. Okay. But when all that stuff got taken care of and, you know, the boy was cured and all this stuff, all the furniture, including the bed, okay, is stored at Scott Air Force Base. All the furniture in that kid's room, everything, all the way down to the rug that was on the floor, everything that was on the shelves, every content that was inside those drawers is all stored at Scott Air Force Base. So why would the military have possession of all of that furniture in that bed, other than trying to weaponize it? That's the only theory I can think of. Why would the military have possession of it? You know, Bigfoot, can they weaponize Bigfoot? Can they weaponize Dogman? Maybe so. You know, maybe that's what they're trying. But are also they looking at, can, you know, how much of a threat it is to people, how the people react to it? Do they look at it as a threat or a apex predator? You know, obviously, you guys know Bigfoot is not this creature that goes into the campsites and just rips everybody apart like in the movies. Okay, this thing has feelings, it has emotions, it has common sense, it's a problem solver. You know, it's not just going to go and attack somebody. Okay, Dogman is a different thing. It's an apex predator. Okay, so I believe this thing literally kills to show it's there, because there's a lot of animal kills that's taken place, and there's a lot of kills that are taking place, you know, with humans that are being completely ripped apart, and they have no idea who's doing it. They're not being eaten on, they're just being ripped apart. And I think these things do it to let people know that, hey, I am there. Okay. And they follow people, and I know they follow people because they followed me to my home. We have, where I live, right down the street, we have a monument. Okay. And it's a Native American. He was one of the chiefs that was here in the area I lived in. And so they made a monument of him, and it's a fountain. On each side of the fountain is a werewolf's face. Okay, which is really odd. Now this has been there since the 1930s. Okay, so I was, you know, in the process of working on the new book for quite some time. So I said, you know, I want to write about this in my new book. And so I called the Historical Society, and I said, hey, can you give me some information about this fountain? And I said, you know, have you noticed that they're like werewolf's heads going on around it? She goes, everybody says that, you know, and we don't know why they're werewolf's heads. And, you know, she goes, why do you think it's there? And I said, you know, I told her what I do. And she goes, you go out looking for these things? I said, yeah. She goes, you got to talk to my best friend. You got to talk to my best friend. She saw one yesterday over at Fairbanks Park. You have to talk to her. Okay. So I said, yeah, give her my number. So she called me, and I met him over at the park. See what they did where I live. The Ohio River is right there. And they took out all this whole woods and made this really beautiful park. Okay. They had a mile circle to walk around in, but they left part of the woods that was there, and they ended up doing this big trail through there. Okay. So they were going through the trail, walking their dog. And as they were going down the trail, a lot of woods on each side, a deer runs out in front of them. And then the dog just went crazy. And they said a werewolf, like in the Howling movie, ran right in front of us after that deer. She said this thing was about 7 feet, massive. Didn't even look at us, went straight after that deer. So I looked around a little bit. She showed me what happened. I found 2 really beautiful prints. Okay, so I made casts of the prints. Okay, and the very big. Now I have a 150-pound German Shepherd. Okay, male German Shepherd for 7 months. This dog is massive. Okay, and these tracks dwarf his, because I made a print of his track to compare, and it dwarfs his. I mean, these things are huge. So about 2 days later, when my wife leaves for work in the morning, about 5, I go out and I walk my dog. Okay, he loves to walk. He wouldn't leave the yard one morning. He would just stay on the porch and look down the street. And I'm like, dude, you got to go. You got to go, to the bathroom. Would not leave the porch. He kept looking down. So I would have to end up going out in the backyard with him so he can use the bathroom. And did this for about 4 days. He would not leave the yard on the walk. So I ended up, about the 5th day, I was able to get him down to the sidewalk. Now, within those, 4 days, a lot of police activity was going on. Okay. See, you never ever see a cop where I live. I'm on the Indiana border. You don't ever see a cop unless something happens. Okay. So you've been seeing a lot of them going up and down the road, going on Route 50 and stuff. And what was odd was the day after I found the tracks, my wife told me when she left, she said on both entrances of the parks, there were 2 black SUVs blocking the entrance of the park there. When there was a bunch of people that were walking around there. And she didn't think anything of it, but she said, that's what she saw. So about like I said, the 5th day, I was able to get him down on the sidewalk. So, and he stopped and he's looking down the street. Now the street kind of goes and it curves a little bit, and there's this big house that sits right there, kind of like at the bend, in this huge tree. And there's something kneeling down by the tree. There's a light there. You can kind of see the shape of it, but you can't really see what it is. And my dog is looking at it. And the car goes down the street, and then you see the brake lights where it's stopping. And this person saw what was there, and then he just hauls ass, man. He just brakes, goes. Excuse me. So I was able, to try to get my dog to go a little bit. He wouldn't go. I ended up going back in. We have this large bay window, and he would sit there at the bay window and look out. So I'm in the office, and he just goes completely ape crap. I mean, I thought he was going to bust through the window. I look out, I don't see anything, and he is just going nuts. And I had to literally pull him to get him away from the window because I thought he was going to break the window. And like I said, this is about 5:30, 5:45 in the morning. It was still dark. It was, still, I think it was like in October. And about 9 o'clock in the morning, I go out. I was getting ready to go to VA, and there's a paw print with nails on the side of my car. And I got a picture of it, and it's like right there. You see the fingers, and you see the claw marks where it went right there on the side of my car. So I think this thing picked my scent up when I made the tracks, and was basically looking towards where I was, and it came up to my house. So a day or two later, a piece of paint came off the hood of my car, and I was so bad. What happened? Why did the paint come off? So the next morning, I was parked in front of my wife, so I turned her car on to get it started, and I started my car up, and the red light hit where the piece where the paint came off, and there's a handprint. I'm not kidding you. You saw this handprint there from where that paint came off on the car. And it's literally was like about this big, and I got a picture of it too. But it was just, it was just crazy, so I think they can follow you home, pick up your scent and follow you.
That's kind of scary, especially if they're not so friendly.
Yeah. And every once in a while, my dog, he senses something and he won't move. He won't go any further, and it's just, it kind of scares me a little bit because there's a lot of bushes and big trees on the street, that something could pop out and grab you.
So why do you think that his handprint made the paint peel off?
I think this is my theory. Okay. I think it urinated on that spot and it ended up stepping in it. And it was the urine, I think, that ate the paint off, because there's like a little around the handprint, there's like a stain, and it had been something that was able to eat through the paint on the car all the way down.
Urine.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. It marked my vehicle and ended up stepping in it. I don't know. But it's odd that you see the handprint when, on the metal.
Did you take a sample off of it and keep it before it got washed?
I did not wash the vehicle because I was afraid that more paint stuff would come off. I took a Q-tip and wiped on it and stuff like that. I do have those. I haven't had them tested yet. A lot of places they want like $300 to do that, and I don't want to put $300 on there. Finally, it was a squirrel that took a crap or took a pee on my car or something, But I still have the samples of it. Yeah.
And who knows what they would tell you if they would actually tell you the truth anyway. So.
Well, I'm telling you something. We when I filmed that show for Mysteries Decoded, I had hair, okay, and the hair got sampled, got tested, and it came back with an unknown species of canine that did not match up to any of the species. Okay. Now they sent the email stating that, but they refused to give the actual report. Okay. And what they did was the hair samples that was left, they threw in a baggie, a Ziploc bag, and sent it back. And I was so mad. I said, you're a DNA company that tests DNA and you put a sample in a piece of plastic knowing it could contaminate it because it's petroleum. They did that on purpose.
Of course they did.
They did that on purpose. But it's in the email where it states it in the email, but they will not give an official report on, what it was. But they did state it in the email that it was a known species of canine.
Wow.
I mean, these hairs were like, 6 inches long. I mean, they were big hair. And we had a lot of it. And like I said, the samples they sent back, because we gave everything in a brown evidence bag, and they sent it all back in a Ziploc sandwich bag.
That music tells us we're at the end of the show. Can you tell everybody real quick where to find you?
You can find me on Facebook under Joedy Cook. Now, I have a new Facebook account. My old one got hacked, and it finally got shut down by Facebook. You can reach me at oc4bfs@hotmail.com. I'm on Instagram under the North American Dogman Project and Joedy Cook. Facebook is the best way to find, or the North American Dogman Project.com. Awesome.
Thanks for coming on the show and tuning in, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Good night.
Bye-bye.